I've seen more of an acceptance mindset to the technology that you speak of, as opposed to reluctance.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out with you once again. Have a great interview coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about the future of the valuation world, the future of appraisal. Got a good friend of mine coming up. Can't wait to introduce him, but first want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by, well, 3 great companies. One of them being DataMaster. DataMaster, of course, saving time, saving money, saving you, and making you more efficient, folks. It's DataMaster. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's DataMaster. You got to add the USA as in United States of America.com. OREP, of course, is the insurance that I choose to hang my hat on. They're a great, great company, which allows me all kinds of benefits in addition to the great coverage. And folks, this is big, the low price. OREP Insurance, it's OREP.org. That's OREP.org. And finally, we're sponsored by A La Mode. A La Mode is the choice that I make every day to make sure that my reports are efficient and effective and that the tools are at my fingertips to do what I need to do with my report writing. A La Mode is where you find them, alamode.com or 800 A La Mode. Well, folks, I want to welcome a good friend of mine. His name is Mike Holzheimer, and Mike is a former sports writer. He's the current writer and editor of Valuation Review for October Research. He's spent a lot of time in Ohio with various print journalism publications. Mike, you're not an appraiser, but boy, you sure know a lot about appraising. Welcome to the program, my friend.
Thanks, Dustin. I really appreciate the opportunity today and to share some things with your listeners. No, I'm not an appraiser, but for the last 5 years, as editor of Valuation Review for October Research, I have tried to the best of my ability to keep my pulse on the industry and basically just tell everybody what's on the mind of those out there, and you know, kind of tell people what they need to know as far as keeping their businesses moving forward. And we've certainly had that as a big challenge to start this year.
Well, you and I ran into each other, I don't know how many years it was, but it's been several years ago. I think Dallas. I was down there for a convention, an AI convention, actually. I was speaking at that, and you were in the audience, and you and I had a nice brief conversation afterwards, and it was love at first sight, and we've been great friends ever since, I think, right?
Oh, absolutely. That was my very first conference. In fact,
how fun.
I was hired in July, the first week of July of 2015, and I'm on a plane heading to Dallas about a week and a half later. So talk about a baptism of fire. I certainly got it there. But
and speaking of baptism, I think you still had a little. You were a little wet behind the ears there when I first met you.
Yeah, but you know, there's no better way to learn than to be there and to hear the people, hear the experts, and you know, just get educated. I mean, that's what happened to me, and no, great experience. And you know, I've enjoyed our professional relationship the last 5 years. You know, the Appraiser Coach, there's a little tie in with me. As soon as I saw the word coach, I immediately had a big draw to that.
There you go.
But no, I've appreciated your insight as far as what you supply to my readers. And again, we're just trying to keep everyone as updated and as informed as we can.
Well, and speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about Valuation Review for some of my listeners who may not be familiar. Tell us a little bit about that publication and kind of what you do there.
I'm the editor and writer, Dustin, for Valuation Review. And it comes out 2 times a week online, and we have a print edition that comes out every other week, plus a lot of special reports that we're going to talk about today, namely Voice of the Appraiser. Mm-hmm. And I basically bring the news to the people. I reach out to the many sources, many of whom I get a chance to meet at conventions. That's how I met you. And I do in-depth features with them on everything that appraisers need to know, or what I think they should know moving forward as far as running their business. I try to keep up to date on all the changes that go on, whether it's from Fannie or Freddie or whatever it is. And I try to, bring all that information to the readers. A lot of it is just general announcements type, but a lot of it is also feature stories that we call our premium content, our top 3. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. I've always enjoyed talking to people and bringing their word and making their words come alive on paper. That's what I feel I do best. I love to talk to people and tell their stories so that we can help others.
So you said something about special features. Specifically, you mentioned Voice of the Appraiser, or is it Voice of the Appraiser or Voice of the Appraisal? Okay, Appraiser.
Voice of the Appraiser.
So talk to me about what that special feature is.
Well, that's we're celebrating 10 years of that this year, and we just basically formulate questions that appraisers we know will have an opinion on, what they'll respond to, from fees to what kind of business are you in? Is it residential, commercial, both? And we'll dive into that a little bit more later.
Mm-hmm.
But we just kind of, again, bring what the other appraisers are saying, what they're feeling to our audience.
Okay.
And we get a lot of, opinions on that. And some agree, some don't, but that's okay. The one thing
wait, appraisers disagree? What?
One thing, Dustin, I do like to do, and I've always had this in my writing philosophy in my career, is, I want to generate conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when people talk about things, we get new ideas to the table. And some of those new ideas might be just what that person was waiting to hear.
Right.
We don't know that until we spread that word.
So would it be fair to call the voice of the appraiser, I think you use the word survey. Is that a fair word
Yes.
to use? Okay, survey.
Yes.
So any idea of the numbers of appraisers that participate in such a survey?
Well, first of all, Justin, that's one of the special reports. It's not really a featured story.
Gotcha.
That's one of our special reports along the lines of the appraisal technology report we do.
Yeah.
We've done things about running your own business, customary and reasonable. So this is an annual special report. And this year we had over 700 respondents,
Wow.
which was more than last year.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
So, and again, going into the idea of, well, we're in this pandemic, we have to assume some businesses are not doing well. Would people respond? And they did. So we're very appreciative of that.
Okay, well, let's get right to it, shall we? In fact, let's get to the big question. What's going on in the valuation world, Mike?
Well, Justin, what I see happening in the appraisal profession, and basically what's happening in all businesses and all professions since the arrival of the coronavirus and the pandemic environment, I've seen adaptation and adjustment.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah, I mean, our new world has, well, I don't like to use the word force, but more or less forced businesses and workers to do things they never thought they'd have to do before, and in ways they didn't think they could possibly do. A lot of people have found out they can work remotely from home. They've developed an initiative creating new ways to do business in order to keep their business thriving. Appraisers are no different. I mean, they've had to make a lot of changes, a lot of adjusting. Many flexibilities, as you know, have been implemented by the GSEs, which has given the appraiser the option to not inspect the property physically if they don't feel safe doing that. And
Right.
I've talked to a lot of appraisers about, what's happened since COVID, and many don't want to do that, for themselves or their families.
Right.
You know what else is happening, Dustin? I've seen, based on talking to people, I sense a true working together has become like the business world, the appraiser world's new motto.
Yeah.
I talked to one commercial appraiser regarding his business as the pandemic started to get, into full swing. And, he said, I never thought about sitting down together and discussing ideas and share with others what we're all doing. Because, the old way of thinking was, don't share your success with the competition.
Right, exactly.
But now with businesses and people's incomes and livelihoods, perhaps on the line, people working together seems to be the answer to surviving difficult times. Based on our survey, more than half the respondents said the restrictions stemming from COVID-19, it hasn't changed their business. Less than a quarter or so said that the new guidelines haven't helped, but they're still able to do the things that they need to do. And, to your point, I guess you could kind of put it into that saying of, with what's going on and what's happening in the world and businesses, we hear a lot about the negative and we hear a lot about, well, this problem, that problem. But another thing I've seen, especially in the appraiser industry, it's now become, let's be part of the solution and not the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been an amazing thing. I've joked in the past. It's almost kind of not been a joke, but I've joked in the past about the appraiser cave and how we like to hide ourselves there and not really see the light. But I've seen that change a lot this year. What else have you seen this year, specifically, Mike? With I don't know if it's pandemic related. I assume on some level it is. The government wants to keep interest rates low and they want to keep people buying, especially in a tight economy. But for whatever reason, we're seeing extraordinarily record low interest rates, and as a consequence, we've seen record high appraisal volume. What have you seen with the temperature in general regarding appraisers and the high volume they're dealing with?
According to some of the reports, Dustin, I've looked at in some research, and some of our respondents kind of indicated the same. The refinancing of mortgages by homeowners has obviously increased, and they're looking to take advantage of those lower interest rates, as well as pulling out cash during unemployment,
right,
helping to kind of bridge that gap. Some lenders are requiring in-home appraisals, and again, some people don't feel safe to do that. It's difficult to get a traditional appraisal in this environment.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
I looked on the Brookings site, and they were saying borrowers are uncomfortable about letting appraisers in their homes, and appraisers uncomfortable in return. Fannie and Freddie traditionally offer an appraisal waiver for low, loan to value refinances under automated underwriting systems.
Yeah.
It's just it gets to be very, very difficult under these circumstances. So, but we've seen again ways that people need to take advantage in terms of getting what they need, and appraisers have to follow along with that and keep up to date because their requirements are also changing.
You mentioned earlier that this is your 10-year anniversary of this particular special report / survey. Mike, what have you seen happen over the last decade with appraisers? What type of, in general, let's go 30,000 foot view looking down, what kind of changes have you seen and what shifts have you seen in the industry?
Well, as I said before, I can only speak to the last 5 years.
Sure.
as far as doing this report. I've basically seen similar things as far as what appraisers are concerned about, the fees, and one respondent, I believe, said the fees haven't really changed in over 20 years. Scope of work has increased with very few people talking to one another, with automation in place. Some view that as a possible negative. Lenders and AMCs are moving to cost plus pricing models.
Yeah.
And looking back at our survey a few years ago, that's something appraisers wanted to continue to examine. Well, we don't see that right now. They're getting away from that. Just so in a few years, you kind of see changes. The full number of appraisal assignments completed each month. This year, respondents said over 70% say they've completed 10 or more. For the month. A lot of appraisers are predominantly residential. 70% are residential over commercial.
Yeah.
So some of those things really hasn't changed a whole lot in the 5 years that I've been putting this together.
We're talking with Mike Holzheimer of the Valuation Review for October Research. When we get back, Mike, I want to talk a little bit about what you see going on in the future. I want to pause here, of course, and remind you that we are sponsored by 3 great companies. One of them, speaking of prices, speaking of costs, if you will, one of the costs of doing business as an appraiser, folks, is E&O. Wouldn't you want to go with the company that's going to give you the best value? That's the most benefits. That's the best coverage, and do so at a price that is fair. Folks, I, several years ago, switched from whatever company I was with to OREP. And when I did so, I was very, very happy with the switch. And here's the thing, folks, not only do I receive greater benefits with OREP, but also lower prices. Check them out if you have not done so already. E&O is not something we think about, but we should. OREP Insurance, OREP.org, that's OREP.org. One thing we do think a lot about, because it's something we're in all of the time, is our technology. Mike and I have been talking about technology today and about how it's changed over the years. And one of the technologies that I've used for over 20 years that's only gotten better, and especially gotten better in the last couple of months, is a la mode. One of the things that a la mode came up with was a walkthrough tool that allows the homeowner to walk through the property for you. And when the pandemic was, shall we say, hot, and things were nervous out there, I really appreciated the opportunity that I had to send a link to the homeowners, and they could basically do the walkthrough for me. That's the kind of thing that a la mode does for its appraisers. Check them out, go to alamode.com or 800 a la mode. Finally, we're sponsored by DataMaster. DataMaster is saving appraisers time, saving me about 30 to 40 minutes per report. That's 30 to 40 minutes that I personally don't have to be in that report, or I don't have to pay someone else to be in that report. Folks, talk about a bargain. Talk about ROI, return on my investment. DataMaster is where it's at. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. All right, welcome back to the program, everybody. We're talking with Mike Holzheimer. He's with Valuation Review. Welcome back, Mike. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Thanks again, Dustin. A pleasure to be here.
We've talked a little bit about the history of Valuation Review, and specifically this special report that's coming out, specifically the voice of the appraiser. And really what you mean by that is you've reached out to about 700 appraisers. They've responded with what's going on. And we've talked a little bit about what has happened, the shift that we've seen over the last several years. And especially, man, I don't think of any other year out there. And of course, I've only been in the industry 25 years myself, but I can't think of any other year where we've seen more advanced technology and changes in scope of work and the way of doing things. That being said, Mike, where do you see things going? I'm going to ask you to get your crystal ball out a little bit and talk about where the valuation profession is going from here.
Again, Dustin, based on who I've talked to and some of the things I have derived from the comments I've received from the survey, based on what I'm told, I believe that things are going to move forward for the appraisal profession.
Wait a minute, it's not going. The appraiser's not going to the waste bin, huh? Because I hear that all the time.
I have heard that as well, and and I say they're going to go forward. The industry's going forward because of the things we've already talked about. Appraisers and companies that I've spoken with and again, what I've seen from this year's survey, I've seen more of an acceptance mindset to the technology that you speak of, as opposed to reluctance. And two executives told me, who I spoke with, valuations are going to get better and appraisers are here to stay.
Good.
You know, I think when we see the technology that's come out year after year, and now more so the accelerated brand, to your point, because of what's happening around the world, that has scared people, and like they're going to get replaced. And as you said, go by the wayside. But one thing I hear constantly all the time, despite the fears of someone's job being taken from them, you still cannot replace the experienced person who sees the property, who knows how to determine value. You just can't replace that. You can provide assistance, but appraisers are not going to go anywhere. And I think that that's also a mindset that we're seeing a little more of a shift in based on the 2020 report.
Yeah, I think you and I feel the same way there. And I don't think it's just hopeful thinking on my end. I truly do feel like, yes, we're shifting more and more to technology, but I don't see AVMs taking over the world. I just can't see that the Zillows and some of the other technology out there is going to get so good that it can replace the boots on the ground understanding of the marketplace. Now, in tract home developments, cookie cutter, there's 6 other sales within a 3-block radius within the last 3 months. Okay, sure. I think the computers can do okay as far as getting a general ballpark there. But, as my dad used to say, a computer can't smell cat pee. So, not only that, but I think it's bigger than that. It's not just about the boots on the ground appraiser. It's also about the understanding and putting this data together and analyzing it properly. Because a computer, let's just be honest, a computer cannot analyze the same way that a human being can analyze.
And I think, again, just for future and more people that I've talked to, there's a willingness to learn. There's a willingness to be educated. And there's a willingness to, do something different, because that's now going to be the new norm.
Yeah.
And the more we can remain in business and keep getting the assignments, that's what appraisers are looking for. And many I spoke to, Dustin, have said that, despite the issues, there's still work out there. And one respondent from the survey said, he's had more work than he's had in the last few years.
Yeah, me too.
So that again, fosters hope and a positivity that the profession needs moving forward, and keeping in that positive direction well past the COVID-19 era.
I think that's a great note to end on. Mike, how do my listeners reach out and get a copy of this report?
Well, Dustin, the special report is going to be released on November 4th, and it's available as a free download at valuationreview.com. for our email newsreaders and all valuation industry professionals. And I would just add for your listeners, if you're not a subscriber to Valuation Review, please consider doing so, because you will get all the latest industry updates, the special premium stories Dustin and I alluded to, featuring interviews with the industry experts. You'll get appraisal conference coverage, and hopefully soon I'll be back on the road again.
Yeah.
And complete access to all of our special reports, including our annual Voice of the Appraiser.
Mike Holzheimer, Valuation Review. Thank you, my friend, for being here.
Thank you, Dustin. Always a pleasure.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
Go to datamaster.com or 800. Sorry, editor, there is no 800. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. Boy, Mike, I'm really doing it today.